Some of these people were savages in their own homeland. The fact you're a failed asylum seeker, the second you get stamped with failed, you should be on a plane that day, or you should be locked up until the plane's ready to take you. We're never going to stop somebody in this country from being mental and killing other people.
The first thing I want to talk about is how much this guy was visible in the first place. So we found out he was referred to Prevent, this so-called anti-terrorist organisation, 3 times. One of those referrals actually raised his potential interest in the killing of children in a school massacre. So that was, he either said it or somebody else heard him say it, and then he was referred to Prevent it. Well, he carried a knife to school 10 times. And sorry for our gentle listeners, Axel Rudy Cabana is a Southport killer who killed the 3 little girls. There were 5 calls from his home address to the Lancashire police. There were multiple vulnerable child referrals made for him. A case was actually opened up with the NHS to the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services for him. He completed a youth justice referral order after attacking a fellow pupil at school. In fact, there were 15 opportunities where he was raised to the authorities, where he could have been stopped, basically, but he wasn't. Why do you think that is? I mean, because I think a lot of people got the impression he was an innocent Welsh schoolboy, and this was the first thing he'd ever done. He had a track record, a massive track record.
He had a track record of being dysfunctional. He didn't have a track record of killing children. So it's quite hard, really. It's very hard for people to understand this who've not worked in the criminal justice system. He was dysfunctional. He had potential to be violent. We know that. But we've got 100,000 other black lads in the country who look like that. We can't lock them all up. Prevent's failings were for many reasons. The first reason is there's far too many referrals into Prevent, and many of those referrals are trying to balance the ethnicity of the people going in there. So we're referring white kids in there now for being sexist. Now, they're not going to get a case officer, but it's still something else clogging up the system. And if we've got another 20,000 of those referrals to make sure Prevent doesn't look like it's Islamophobic, and let's be honest, Prevent was set up to tackle Islamophobia, regardless of what the government tells you. It was set up after some atrocity, I can't remember which one now, about tackling radical Islam. And then suddenly politicians are going, that makes us look racist. Start referring white boys in as well. So it slows up the system, it dilutes the system. It takes
you just said then Prevent was set up to stop Islamophobia.
No, to stop Islamic attacks.
Sorry, I was going to say, I don't think it was set up for that.
Sorry. To stop Islamic attacks. So with politicians messing in Prevent has made it more incompetent than it would have been on its own. All government departments are incompetent, all government projects are incompetent, but the meddling has made it worse. We're never going to stop somebody in this country from being mental and killing other people. But we expect them every couple of decades. What we have now is every year or 2. So that's more than it used to be. And we need to ask why. And the answer is immigration. Because now we're importing mentally ill people from around the world to come here. Some come here illegally, some come here legally. They then have children. The fact they've got defective genes and mental health issues, they pass that on to their children. Even if they've got no mental health issues, the children of migrants have a harder life in any country they're in because it's not their ancient homeland. They are always seen as outsiders. That destroys their mental health. And then people come from these countries that have seen horrendous things like Rwanda, like the Middle East, and we think these people are going to be like us. We think their children are going to be like us. Some of these people were savages in their own homeland. So over one generation doesn't stop that savage gene. They were bred to be like that, to survive in their country. So we're always going to have nutcases, and we've had white British nutcases, but it's increasing now because of mass immigration, importing nutcases as well.
Let's talk more about prevent, because I've got some other examples for you here. A Libyan asylum seeker was referred 4 times to prevent and ended up killing 3 men in a Reading Park in 2020.
Because they were homosexual. There were 3 homosexual men. They were having a picnic and he stabbed them and killed them. Again, what can prevent do? He was a lone attacker, nutcase. The answer is he never should have been in the country in the first place. He was a failed asylum seeker. First of all, no asylum seeker should be let in the country anyway. But the fact you're a failed asylum seeker, the second you get stamped with failed, you should be on a plane that day, or you should be locked up until the plane's ready to take you. But we allow them back on the streets.
Yeah.
Again, imported nutcase, but it's a failed system. I don't see it necessarily a failure of prevent.
Usman Khan,
Yep.
great surname, referred to prevent in 2019, stabbed 5 people on London Bridge.
Yep. I know less about this person individually, but again, referring to prevent have limited resources. They're having to make judgments every day. We've got far too many cases. Which ones are we going to take? Which ones are we going to take forward? Which ones are we going to engage with? Which ones are we going to put on a warning list? Which ones? Well, we're only going to take a couple of thousand out of the tens of thousands that are coming through.
I mean, they're coming across as pretty shit so far, aren't they? Because if you think about it, I mean, let's ignore Axel Rudikabana, who is a British-born Rwandan heritage. They get a British-born. These 2 characters are foreign nationals, aren't they?
Yep.
So surely, as soon as they get referred to prevent, it's like, you're on a plane, mate. You're off out of here. It's an easy decision, that, isn't it?
That's a government decision. It's not a prevent decision. Prevent is not about deporting people. Prevent are like doctors. They're about working with you so you're not mental anymore. That's what prevent's about. Prevent isn't like the MI5. It's not like the police.
Oh, right.
Prevent is all about working with these people referred into it so they stop being radicalised. That's prevent. That's why it's called prevent. So it's not an enforcement.
Well, I think people think when they call prevent that somebody's going to be dealt with.
No.
So who do you call then if you think somebody's a terrorist? You don't call prevent then?
You call the police.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So part of this is the fact prevent has been used as a national project in the media by politicians who say, we have prevent. And the word prevent means we're preventing stuff. It's a poorly named organisation.
I didn't know that.
And it's not funded to the level it should be if this is going to be the organisation that's going
I
to stop
assumed
protect-
if it was prevent, they jump in a car, drive over, throw you in the back of the car, take you to the airport, put you in jail or send you home.
Yeah, nothing like that.
That's scandalous.
That's nothing like that. It's all about working. It's all about preventing people becoming
We don't want them
terrorists.
working. We want them sorting this mess out, don't we?
The foreigners, the fact you get referred to prevent should trigger an immediate deportation.
Yes.
The fact you get arrested and convicted for any crime in this country and you're a foreigner should trigger immediate deportation.
But surely prevent must, if there's a serious case, they must say to the police or...
Yeah.
There's a problem here. This guy needs to be sorted out.
They work very closely with the police and the anti-terrorism unit and MI5. They'll work with all of them. But prevent is not the enforcement arm. Prevent is the pink and cuddly, we're going to talk to you and hold your hand until you don't kill anybody.
And I guess a question I'm thinking here, and I'm sure our viewers are thinking as we're saying this, there's a meme that goes, not a meme, an actual picture of people in the Home Office, and it's basically all Muslims or Africans or whatever it might be. Is prevent the same? Is it populated by a large population of foreigners, foreign nationals, Muslims?
I would imagine so, because they're mainly dealing with Islamic terrorists, so I would imagine so.
Yeah. So the problem with that for me isn't there automatically empathy between those workers and the people they're seeking to control or prevent? There must be, surely.
Not necessarily, and there shouldn't be.
No, there shouldn't be.
Because we're white of Christian heritage doesn't mean we wouldn't deal with white Christian terrorists. Actually, I want them all locked up.
Yeah.
Same with white Christian paedophiles, I'd like them hanged.
Yeah.
I have no sympathy with people like that. So most of them will have no sympathy with radical Islamists. My problem would be how many foreigners are employed. I'm sick of us employing foreigners in government jobs. I've got a problem if you're Muslim and if you're brown, if you're British, but I'm tired of employing foreigners. We see it in the Home Office. People who are arrested in the Home Office have been working for the Home Office. Were arrested a few months ago for being illegals working for the Home Office. Some illegal yesterday some woman was arrested yesterday for sitting 100 English language tests for citizenship. She hired herself out to people.
Not the same one, not doing the test 100 times, doing it for other people.
Doing it for other people, wearing disguises and wigs and going in and doing the test again. So this is, when we import people from other countries with failed governments and a history and a culture of fraud, they come over here and they're like wolves in a sheep's pen. It's like, look at all the crap I can do here, because no one's expecting fraud, because we were a high trust society where we trusted each other. But they come from low trust societies because they're always ripping each other off.
I think there's a more fundamental point, and somebody was talking about it the other day, I can't remember who, and it's a really good point, that what kind of people are asylum seekers? What kind of people come over on the boats? The people who presumably can't make it in their own countries, who are misfits, who are grifters, comment. You're more likely to get the people in the boats and seeking asylum or trying to get over here who don't make it in their own country, surely.
You get a mixture of people. Many of those countries, no one can make it in those countries because they're failed states. The people
you can make it in Pakistan though, can't you? People can make it in Pakistan. Pakistan's a functioning society.
No, Pakistan is almost a failed state.
All right.
Pakistan doesn't have fair elections.
Yeah.
The corruption's off the chart. Political assassinations. It's only if you visit places like Karachi, you're like, oh, this seems okay. You get out of Karachi and it's the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
It's almost a failed state.
Yeah.
A nuclear failed state as well. The people who come on the boats will be the strongest, because it's a hell of a journey to get to the channel.
Yeah, but you say they're the strongest, but I would challenge that, because if they're so strong and capable, why aren't they making it in their own countries?
Because what I just said, hardly anyone can make it in their country.
Right.
You have to be born into wealth to make it in those countries. So they have to be strong enough to make the journey to get to Europe. They have to, again, partly it's also a benefit to be a criminal, because you've got to wheel and deal and rob and steal along the way to get here, because you can't self-fund because you had no money in your own country. Where's the money coming from?
Yeah.
So it's basically survival of the fittest, and criminality plays a part in that, of doing what needs to be done to survive. And those countries have no law and order. Yeah. Not to what we expect.
So I am right. They are people who you wouldn't really want in your country.
No, absolutely,
yeah. So I think that's, which is an important point, because I think a lot of these kind of, my pussy is open for refugees type people, imagine them to be poor, pitiful people who are oppressed or whatever, and I think they're not, are they? I think you're automatically importing people who you wouldn't really want in your society, possibly wouldn't even want in their society back home.
Yeah, a big part of that will be true.
Ali Harbi Ali was revered by Prevent. He ended up killing Sir David Amos.
No.
His daughter, Kate Amos, believes Prevent could have stopped him, but didn't. So she's actually looked into what Prevent were told, and believes that if they'd have done their job, they could have stopped him.
Oh, I'm sure if they'd highlighted him and knew what he was going to do, they would have been able to stop him. But when you're making these decisions on a daily basis, it's like you don't know who's going to go on and commit crime because you've only got limited resources. His case is even worse because his dad came over here, claimed political asylum, and flies to Somalia all the time to do business. has properties in Somalia.
What the hell's he doing here?
What's he doing exactly?
Yeah.
What's he doing here?
Yeah.
So a lot of people use the asylum seeker, use the asylum system fraudulently. People, if you claim asylum and then you go back to that country for a holiday, do business of a wedding, that's the end of your asylum.
Yeah.
You should never be allowed back in the country.
Yeah.